Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Golden Bachelorette Chock Chapple's special Chock-O-Noodle recipe. Golden Bachelorette suitor Chock Chapple charmed Joan Vassos on night one when he showed up with some of his famous soup. When he got out of the limo, he had a jar of it with him. She drank some and said she loved it. What was even better was his name for the chicken noodle soup. He called it Chock-O-Noodle. Now, Chock is sharing that special recipe with fans. Keep reading to see his video and get the recipe to make at home. Chock Chapple shares famous soup recipe in video. Chock Chapple wanted to make a good first impression on Golden Bachelorette Joan Vassos. He remembered her saying she made the best chicken noodle soup. She even made a video of how she does it to share with her fans a year ago. So, since Joan supposedly makes a mean chicken noodle soup, Chock decided to share his own Chock-O-Noodle with her when he met her outside the mansion. He brought it in a jar and had her take a drink. She seemed to like it, and fans loved that he did that for her. Now, he's sharing that recipe. On Instagram and TikTok, Chock shared how he makes his soup. The soup looks delicious, as does his jar and shirt. He had a label made for the jar that resembles a Campbell's soup can, but instead of their brand name, he has it listed as Chapple's Chock-O-Noodle soup. He has the same label design on his shirt as well. Fans commented how good the soup looked and said they can't wait to make some while watching The Golden Bachelorette. Some fans noted they would be making it during the cool fall days. Will you be making Chock soup during the chilly fall days coming up? What do you think of Wichita, Kansas native Chock Chapple so far? Is he a good fit for Joan? Stay tuned for more updates. The kitchen, much like life, is a place of experimentation, joy, and unexpected discoveries. It's where ingredients are transformed, and something as simple as a noodle can become a signature dish. Chock Chapple, the charismatic lead of Golden Bachelorette, knew this all too well. More than just a seasoned bachelor, he had a flair for taking something familiar and turning it into an extraordinary experience. That's how his Chock-O-Noodle recipe came to be. The origin story. Chock wasn't always a man known for his kitchen wizardry. In fact, his initial foray into cooking began by accident. He was a man of charisma, but he never thought of the kitchen as his domain until the night his date canceled at the last minute, leaving him alone with a bottle of wine and a pantry full of odds and ends. Armed with nothing but a handful of spaghetti, chocolate bars left over from the previous holiday season, and a daring sense of adventure, Chock turned to his greatest strength, improvisation. What he created that evening, against all culinary logic, was the legendary dish now known as Chock-O-Noodles. This dish became so beloved not just for its taste, but for the spirit it represented: bold, unconventional, and completely unforgettable. It was a reflection of Chock himself, and it was also the dish that would eventually steal the heart of many bachelorettes. How could anyone resist a man who dared to mix chocolate with pasta? Ingredients: serves 2 to 4, 200 grams of spaghetti, or any long pasta of your choice, 150 grams of dark chocolate, 70% cocoa or higher, 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1/4 cup heady cream, 1 tablespoon of butter, 1 tablespoon of honey, a pinch of sea salt, a handful of fresh basil leaves for garnish, Parmesan cheese for sprinkling, optional, but Chock says it's essential. Fresh raspberries, optional garnish for that extra touch of elegance. The art of cooking Chock-O-Noodles. Much like romance, Chock-O-Noodles is all about balance. While the ingredients may seem unusual, the magic lies in how they come together in harmony. And like Chock would say, you can't be afraid to take risks, because the best surprises often come from the unexpected. Boiling the noodles. Begin with your pasta. Boil a pot of salted water and cook the spaghetti according to package instructions. Chock always insisted on cooking pasta to al dente perfection, because there's nothing worse than a limp noodle in love or dinner. Drain and set aside, but don't forget to reserve a little pasta water in case you need to thin out the sauce. Melting the chocolate. In a separate saucepan, melt the dark chocolate over low heat. Chock swore by using chocolate that was at least 70% cocoa because it gave the dish a richness without being overly sweet. once the chocolate begins to melt. It's at this point that the dish begins to feel indulgent, like a culinary love affair in the making. Add in the butter, letting it melt into the mixture for that extra layer of smoothness. Sweet and savory notes. Now, for the choc twist, a tablespoon of honey. This subtle sweetness is what transforms the dish from a regular chocolate sauce to a balanced, savory sweet concoction. Chock always believed in adding a touch of sweetness to any relationship or recipe, and his Chock-O-Noodles was no exception. A pinch of sea salt goes in next, enhancing the flavors and adding a delightful contrast. Marrying the noodles with the sauce. Toss the cooked spaghetti into the saucepan with the chocolate sauce. Stir gently to coat the noodles evenly. If the sauce seems too thick, add a splash of the reserved pasta water to loosen it up. The key is to ensure the noodles are fully coated but not drowning in sauce. The garnish. To finish off the dish, Chock believed in presentation. After all, half the joy of cooking is in how it looks when served. He would tear a few fresh basil leaves and scatter them over the top, their vibrant green contrasting beautifully with the deep brown of the chocolate sauce. A sprinkle of grated Parmesan followed. Yes, Parmesan with chocolate. It might sound strange, but trust in Chock's vision. This combination creates an umami experience that's out of this world. For the final touch, Chock loved adding fresh raspberries as a garnish. The tartness of the raspberries cut through the richness of the chocolate, offering a refreshing bite that made the dish feel luxurious yet balanced. The philosophy behind Chock-O-Noodles. Chock's special Chock-O-Noodles isn't just a dish, it's an experience. It's a reflection of who he is. A man who lives boldly, loves fiercely, and embraces the unconventional. He always said that cooking this dish was like love. You have to approach it without fear, even if the combination of ingredients seems like it shouldn't work. In the end, it's about the flavors you bring together and the willingness to take risks. In the world of Golden Bachelorette, where dates range from adventurous hikes to intimate dinners, it was Chock's cooking that truly set him apart. His ability to create something unforgettable from the simplest of ingredients mirrored his approach to life and love. Chock-O-Noodles became more than a recipe. It became a metaphor for the way Chock approached relationships, with creativity, spontaneity, and a dash of boldness. The legacy of Chock-O-Noodles. Since its creation, Chock-O-Noodles has found its way into kitchens far and wide. It's been served at high-end restaurants, recreated by food bloggers, and has even become a popular dish for romantic home dinners. Chock himself couldn't have predicted the impact his accidental creation would have. But for those lucky enough to have tasted the original, made by Chock Chapple himself, it wasn't just about the dish. It was about the warmth, the humor, and the way Chock would spin a tale as he twirled the noodles onto the plate. It was about the spark in his eye as he watched his guests take their first bite, and the inevitable look of surprise when they realized just how delicious it was. In the end, Chock-O-Noodles, much like Chock himself, defies expectations. It's rich, complex, and a little surprising, just the way love should be. So, next time you find yourself looking to impress someone special, remember Chock's advice. Don't be afraid to mix things up. Life, love, and food are all better with a little risk and a lot of heart.